see a red light, I'm on the air. Hi boys and girls, it's me Butch. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Terry David Silvercloud. I am 75 years old. My mouth is dry. Great timing, eh? I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I paint in my old age. When I was younger, when I was quite young, I was an officer in the Navy, and after I left the Navy, I discovered what gay was, and I was it. And I'd signed on for 7 years, so I left at 7 years before they found out what I was about, because in those days you could go to jail for being gay. But I fell in love and chased after my boyfriend to Europe, and we ended up in Madrid. And I saw the Garden of, let me get this right, the Garden of Earthly Delights at the Prado, and it was very nice. So I didn't think much more about the painting, even though I was a fan of Salvador Dali. Oh, and I became a photographer. I eventually realized that, you just can't suddenly be a painter. It takes time, and now in my old age, I'm trying to be a painter. I've got time, I'm retired. So, where were I? I didn't think much more about the painting until a couple of years ago, when I was studying history and religions and hell and all that, and I came across Buddhist hells, and I thought, oh, maybe Hieronymous saw these. So I looked at the Garden of Earthly Delights again, and I noticed other things I hadn't thought about the first time, which is the painting had a camel, at least one, and there was more than one camel, an elephant, and a giraffe, and aside from the other strange creatures that were there, these were fairly exotic animals in Jerome's day. I'm going to call him Jerome. That's what his friends, I think, or something closer to that. In Jerome's day, he didn't travel a lot. He was born in, around 1450, about 1450. In 1440, 10 years earlier, the printing press had been invented, so he was from a family of artists. His grandfather was an artist, and his father and uncles were artists, so somebody taught Jerome to draw and to paint, and he became wildly popular, partly because of the type of imagery he began to paint more in his middle age. He didn't really get religion until he was in his 40s, like very religious. He joined a religious order in his 40s, and the Garden of Earthly Delights was painted in the later stage of his life. It's believed he died in 1516 in August, but we don't know the exact date, although the service, I think, was August 9th. So where did he get these, why did Jerome know about elephants and giraffes and camels? Well, at that time, the Netherlands, the Dutch, were doing a lot of trading, so he must have and would have seen quite a few printed works by this time. Remember, the printing press was invented 10 years before he was born, so that by the time he was in his 20s, printing presses would have been around 30 years, and certain things would start to be in print. And the only way you could put a picture in print in those days was to engrave it on either a special type of metal surface or a prepared surface. It literally had to be drawn on a plate, which would be inked to make the print. And that's what printing presses do, but photographic types of printing, that's going to be a long way away. So it was good timing for old Jerome. He was really good at drawing, and also was at a time after the Crusades, and hell was all very popular. The Roman Catholic Church totally embraced hell, so if he was promoting hell, that was all for the better as far as the church was concerned. They weren't gonna. They wanted to scare the crap out of people anyway to keep you in line. And in those days, people, before the printing press in particular, people would have had no particular reference to, well, what exactly is hell? It didn't really become popular until after the Crusades, because other than bad translations, the Jews don't have a hell or a heaven. There may be a heaven, but there's no real hell. The word hell is just a bad translation for grave. And so there's no hell in the Old Testament, and Jesus wasn't much preaching hell. And then you get the book of Revelations, which got thrown in when the Roman Catholic Church got their act together in 385, and the Council of Nicaea, and they all agreed they needed a Bible and commissioned Jerome to look after that, and he translated everything into Latin. So the book of Revelations got into the Bible, and then by the time the Crusades happened, I think the bishops realized that the Islamic nation was years ahead of them. It made the Christians look like barbarians, which they were. You know, once they encountered some of the Islamic works, they also would have discovered the writings of the Quran. The Quran is all about hell, and it even describes some of the horrors of hell in the Quran. I mean, the whole book is all about hell, and you should read the Quran. It's pretty nasty. Where were I? So the thing is, Jerome, how did he come up with elephants for his paintings and giraffes? Well, it turns out that one of the things, and I'm not the only one that noticed this, there was a fellow whose name was, I got to open this up, I'm still not good at pronouncing his name, Ciriaco de Pizzicoli, an even longer name than that. He's sort of considered the father of archaeology, and he published some sort of little book around right after the printing press happened, or somebody published it with illustrations of what was in his actual book, because they couldn't photograph it. They would have to make a fairly accurate drawing of what somebody saw, but in his record there is a picture of a giraffe, and it's almost identical to the one in the Garden of Earth of Delights. It's almost like Jerome just cut out the one from there and pasted it on there you go, it's the same giraffe. Well, what about the elephants? And again, Ciriaco had a picture of an elephant. So there were probably some other drawings that Ciriaco had, which, because his notes were lost, the original notes were lost, there may well have been the other animals. So that would explain, my nose is seizing up on me, it does that. I don't have a cold, it just does that. Makes my voice sound funny. So where else so Jerome, I'm not the only person I noticed this, and you can check this out, and hopefully when you're watching this, you're seeing pictures going by you. I'm going to be putting pictures over my face to try and illustrate what I'm talking about, testing out the editor I'm going to be trying out. Jerome must have seen these kind of things, and you will see if you know Jerome's work. There's a couple different prints called Besieging of the Elephants, or Besieging the Elephant, words to that effect. And indeed, there's an elephant with being attacked, and there's more than one version of this. And what the most famous was by a printer, or the person who did the engraving, I believe his name was Hamel, Hamel. If you don't already know this, this is easy to check all this stuff out. I just try to get into your head that I wondered where Jerome got all his influences from, and the elephant that you see in that and I think there is an original print of Hamel's, or even a couple of originals. They'd be quite valuable. These aren't copies, these are the real deal from quite a long time ago of the elephant. Hamel's is probably closest to whatever the original drawing was by Bosch, because if you look in the upper left-hand corner of that elephant picture, the buildings and scenery in the background are arranged. You can see two owls. They're not owls, but if you just once you realize that Jerome had some kind of thing for owls, and you'll see owls in a number of his works, he sneaks them in, and he may even have snuck in a portrait of himself in the Garden of Earthly Delights, and hopefully that picture is appearing right now. I've popped it in above my, you don't want to be looking at me, do you? So did I cover all that? Because I really didn't want this to be like really, really long, which I'm like this. I go on and on and on and on. See, it's like 10 minutes already. So I'm going to shut up and cut to the chase here. What I'd said was I associated the Buddhist hells with Jerome's work. So hopefully now, because I would have been showing a whole bunch of Jerome's work, starting from here on in the edit, and I'll just put on some music and shut up. I'll put some Buddhist hell drawings, and that'll wind out the video so I don't go too long. So I'll just put in some music here, I hope, and I'll shut up. And the whole point of this video, because I don't want to do it over and over and over again, because I'll just make as many screw-ups as I did this time. If you like it, give me a like, give me a thumbs up. Just because I'm old. He's old and he's crazy. You got to be whack on your old age. So it's going to be, we're coming up to 12 minutes now, so it's going to be bye-bye from Butch, and we'll close out with some Buddhist hell pictures. And they got their hells from Hindu hells, which apparently were underground and very fiery. I don't know if I got this the way I wanted to, but we're coming up to 3, 4, where we are. Oh, shut up, David. Bye, everybody.